Then, as they reached their target means the igloo place, their tent blew away because of the blizzard. Their tent it blew away, and first of all, and then the igloo roof also followed. Igloo roof, if you, it was made of wood, that also flew away because of the blizzard. Remember, children, blizzard are very strong snowstorms. For 2 days, they remained bundled in their sleeping bags because they have lost their tent, and so to be, just to keep little bit their warm, they would have to be in the sleeping bags, otherwise they would have died. Now, so clinging to life, clinging means, children, to try to be very hard to stay alive. Now, clinging their life beneath a growing snowdrift. Above them, what was been formed a snowdrift. You know, snowdrift. It is it is a mound that has been built due to the action of the wind, due to the snowstorm. So now snow gets deposited. So without food or cover until there was a lull. A lull means a pause, you can say, when the blizzard it stopped for a little while. And Bowers, he found their tent. No, the tent that was blown away, that he tried to find. And they got it. That's a very good thing that they recovered the tent. Our lives had been taken away and given back to us. When they got the tent, this is what this is. Our lives had been taken away and given back to us. Cherry writes in his note. Incredible but true. Incredible means unbelievable. On 1st August 1911, the trio, the three of them, they finally staggered back to base camp. If you remember, the base camp was at Cape Evans, isn't it? Their faces blistered. Now, I have already told the meaning of blistered and scarred. There were marks of the wounds, clutching their precious load of 3 eggs. Now, clutching means grasping tightly their precious load of 3 eggs. They had spent 6 weeks in Antarctic winter, traveling from Cape Evans to Cape Crozier. So, for how many weeks, children, they have? For 6 weeks. It's a big time, isn't it? You can, it's not big time, sorry, a long duration, you can say, no? And together rare, and this is all was just together rare emperor penguin eggs from their natural habitat. Their frozen clothes. No, the clothes also, they were frozen and had to be cut from their bodies. You can't remove that. Cherries, his teeth chattered means it clicked repeatedly due to cold, so violently that they shattered means they broke into pieces, while Wilson was blinded in one way. So there was loss for Cherry and Wilson. Cherry looked about 30 years older than he had when he had set off his cadaverous, when he had set off. So Cherry, actually his age was somewhat right, 24. So he looked, how, children? 30 years older than his age, just because of the frostbite and blister and scarred and so much of exhaustion. His cadaverous face, now his face has turned into pale, thin, bony face. Now scarred and corrugated. Corrugated means wrinkled. Nose became dark. Eyes dull. Nose become dark because of the excessive eyes. It burns the skin. So nose dark. Eyes dull and hands white and wrinkled. His toenails were falling off. Falling off means it was getting separated from the toe. And his fingers were useless. This is what Sarah Wheeler writes. She was the biographer, isn't it? But they had been successful. This is one good thing. It really contrasts, in spite of all this thing, one good thing came up, that they were successful in their winter expedition, or they were successful in getting those rare penguin eggs. Cherry, who had no scientific training, took responsibility for the eggs and presented them to the Natural History of Museum in 1913. Now, he took those eggs, where, children, to the Natural History Museum, where they could be displayed and stored and displayed. Although emperor penguins had been known to science since 1840. The first colony wasn't described until these members of the Antarctic expedition found the birds at Cape Crozier. I handed over the Cape Crozier embryos, which nearly cost 3 men their lives and cost 1 man his health. Cherry later wrote it to the museum. So what he said is, he handed over those eggs to whom? The curator. And he writes that because of this, nearly the 3 men, they were about to die because of this. This would have been the cost, isn't it? But 1 man, 1 man means here who has children? Here Wilson, he lost 1 eye. And even this, even you can talk about, it was said, it could have been said even about Cherry himself, because his teeth, they were broken and all. So, after all was said and done, Wilson and Scott froze to death on the return trip from the South Pole. So, here you see Cherry, he comes back to hand over the eggs, but Wilson and Scott, they remained there, on the Ross Island, and on the return journey from South Pole, they died. Cherry Garrard brought the eggs to the American Museum of Natural History. They are supremely unimpressed, supremely unimpressed curator. The curator means the keeper or the custodian of the museum. It didn't mean anything for him. He allegedly greeted him with a sneer. He greeted with him what, children? With a smile, or in a funny way, as if to make fun of him. And he said, just see what he said. Who are you? What do you want? This aren't an egg shop. See how he was being greeted. Imagine, children, you would have been applauded and all, but the way he was being welcomed by the curator. How do you feel about it? No? Here now. The eggs were then kept in storage while occasional scientists, now and then some scientists, they used to pay visit, and so they were being asked to study them, but it was difficult to find right specialist. Eventually in 1934, the geologist C.W. Parsons, he analyzed them, and he concluded that they did not greatly add to our understanding of penguin embryology. Now, embryology, it is the study of that of biology. You can say it's a part of that biology that studies the embryos and their development. For good measure, scientists no longer believe that embryos help much in studying a species' evolutionary history. However, Russell added that the specimens were used in later study of emperor penguins and were reckoned means considered to be useful. Ultimately, though, they did not provide the information that was hoped for them. On the other hand, they are still here for study and reinterpretation. This means again you can just explain it in a different way. In that sense, they are invaluable. The worst journey in the world, as Cherry was later to name their trip, had been completed. The ordeal, it means a very unpleasant and prolonged experience. This ordeal, the winter expedition, was immortalized. Immortalized means with this it becomes like a thing forever. In Apsley, it became so famous, or that will be remembered forever. In Apsley, Cherry Garrard's The Worst Journey in the World, one of the most popular travel books ever written. And this winter journey was immortalized as one of the most astonishing journeys to be successfully executed throughout the heroic age of Antarctic exploration. And with this chapter ends. If you like the explanation. Do subscribe to my channel.